Hello everybody, it's Nice Clips and welcome back to another video. Don't be alarmed, this is me, this is the face behind the voiceovers that you've been listening to. So you're probably like, Ariana, what are you doing here? Well, I just kind of think it's time to expand the channel a little bit more, start showing my face a little, talking about some more shows and teen dramas that I watch. So I want to do some videos similar to this on some other shows that I watch, but of course I had to start with the Degrassi, as that is the bread and butter of this channel and the origin story of my love for teen drama television. I started watching Degrassi when I was in 10th grade. This may sound a little bit late for some of you because I feel like people start watching shows like this in like middle school, but that wasn't me. In middle school, I was still watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. Okay, so it's really alarming when I see comments of people like, oh, I started watching Skins when I was 12 years old, and I'm like, so yeah, I started really watching teen drama as a teen in high school. Started with Degrassi, and then I started watching things like The 100, The Vampire Diaries, Elite, and then in college was when I started to watch things like Teen Wolf, Shameless, Glee, One Tree Hill, and things like that. And so yeah, now we're here to dive deep into Degrassi, and so welcome. This is going to be a deep dive into the lore of Degrassi. Before we dive into some quick overviews of each character, let's go into a little overview of the show. Degrassi The Next Generation premiered on October 14th, 2001. There are a total of 14 seasons, and on average there are about like 25 to 30 episodes a season, so lots of seasons and lots of episodes per season. So this is a packed and stacked show with lots of cast members and a lot of lore. In this video, we're just going to be going over seasons 1 to 7 because this kind of is the era of the first original cast, and then I'm going to do a second video, a part 2, that's going to be seasons 10 to 14. And so basically the premise of the show, two people from the original Degrassi series, they have a kid who is attending Degrassi, this girl here, Emma Nelson, and it's just about her and her friends and her fellow classmates as they navigate adolescence, relationships, and life at Degrassi Community School. So let's go ahead and start with some quick character overviews. I have everybody up here like it's a crime scene, and honestly, all of these people could be in jail for crimes, especially this one right here. All of the characters that you see pink tapes connecting them, there's romance, there's romantic ties there. And then all of the blue tape is friendships. First, we have the class of 2007, Emma Nelson, and like I said, she is the child of two characters from the original Degrassi series. She's sassy, she's snarky, she likes to protest, she is a vegan, she cares about the environment.
No talking about the environment. The environment is not sexy. Do not talk about it.
And if something doesn't sit right with her, if she doesn't like something, she's going to say something about it and make it known, whether it's her business or not. Because of that, she's kind of split half and half in terms of likability in the fandom. Some people like her passionate energy, and some people, including me, think that she is, rather nosy, judgmental, rude, bad friend, self-centered. There are sometimes I like Emma, it just kind of depends. Sometimes she can be sweet, sometimes she's psycho, just like the song, oh, she's sweet but a psycho. Yeah, that's Emma. Next, we have her best friend, Manny Santos. She's sweet all throughout the series, but particularly in season 3, she doesn't want to be known as sweet or adorable. She wants to be known as sexy, and this gets her a lot of attention from boys throughout the show, which, you guessed it, it's gonna create a lot of drama. We have kind of a trio here with JT York, Liberty Van Zant, and Toby Isaacs. Toby, I'm really not going to be talking about him a lot because he was really underutilized throughout the show, but JT, on the other hand, he's kind of like your class clown of the group, very silly, and Liberty is the nerdy, smart girl, and her and JT, as you can see, they have some romantic ties. Liberty starts off crushing on JT, and, after they get into their relationship, it causes a lot of messy drama. We have one last character for the class of 07, Sean Cameron. So Sean, he really is supposed to be class of 06, but he comes into Degrassi having to repeat a year because he's moving to Toronto from Wasaga Beach because he got into a little bit of trouble. He got into a fight and deafened a kid in one ear. So He's supposed to be like the bad boy. So now moving on from the class of 2007 to the class of 2006. First, we have Spinner Mason. He has a lot of character development. He really starts off as an awful person, but by the end, he is a successful married man, okay? And he kind of starts off as like this himbo bully type character, which he remains until a very groundbreaking event takes place in the hallways of Degrassi. And the aftermath of this makes Spinner change a lot. And throughout the show, you know, he goes through some interesting hairstyles. He has a tongue piercing, and he really is just the type of guy to listen to like Green Day. Spinner is best friends with Jimmy Brooks. He is played by Drake, and this picture of him is even so corny, like the way he's in the wheelchair posed like this. It's like, come on. He's a chill guy, basketball star, comes from money, so he's always like dripped out in some nice outfits, some nice sweatsuits. So like I said, he has a very interesting friendship with Spinner, and they go through some things that definitely change up the trajectory of the show. Next, we have Paige Chuck, blonde, popular, mean cheerleader. Over here, we have Craig Manning, and this is another amazingly written character. Craig is one of my favorites. He is also very hated within the fandom just because he makes some awful decisions, but I just think that adds to, you know, his entertainment and his characterization. He has a really rough and dark family background. His mom passed away, and then his father is very physically and emotionally abusive, and so because of that, he ends up living with this character named Joey, who is also a character from the original Degrassi series alongside Emma's mom. And so Joey is kind of like Craig's stepdad. I'll refer to Joey as Craig's stepdad throughout the video. So he lives with Joey and his half sister Angela. Because of his upbringing, he has a lot of mental issues and exhibits a lot of toxic behaviors throughout the show. Up next, we have Ashley Kerwin, and she is a girl who does not know her aesthetic whatsoever. She changes her look like every season. Then we have Ellie Nash, and she is a girl who does know her aesthetic. She comes in and she's the goth girl, and she pretty much keeps this look all throughout the show. And then we have Marco Del Rossi. He is a sweet Italian gay boy who everyone loves. Next we have Hazel Adin. She has zero lure outside of her relationship with Jimmy and her friendship with Paige, but she is given like no storylines, unfortunately. And then another character we have is Terry McGregor. She is connected to a major storyline, but she's not in the show for that long, so other than that, she's not going to really be talked about that much. But finally, we have two final characters here in the class of 2006, and that is Jay Hogarth and Alex Nunez. So these are the two kind of like bad girl and boy thugs of the group. Usually whenever a character is in a lot of serious trouble, it's because of Jay or Alex. But both of these characters definitely do have their growth throughout the show. They both have really amazing, interesting relationships. So yes, those are the main characters of season 1 to 7 that we're going to be diving into. But I also have a few kind of side characters here that really aren't a part of the main crew, but they do come in throughout seasons 1 to 7 and are connected to some of these characters one way or another. Peter Stone, Darcy Edwards, Mia Jones, Dylan Chuck, who is Paige Chuck's brother, and Rick Murray. So yes, without further ado, let's really get into this Degrassi deep dive, and we're gonna start off with some Emma and Manny lore. Throughout the show, Emma and Manny date and kiss and get with a lot of these same men. We're going to dive into each of the men that they share, and throughout that, I'm gonna go just kind of deeper into the connecting lures and stories that go with each of the men. I hope that makes sense, but you'll see as we get started. So the first guy that they kind of share, Craig Manning. So Craig comes into the show in season 2, and Emma and Manny both have a crush on him. Emma and Craig have a tiny storyline together where they look for Emma's dad together because I guess they can both relate to having messed up fathers. I don't know too much about Emma's father because I did not watch the original like Degrassi High series, but apparently he was like on drugs and he fell off of a bridge or something, and so now he is not right in the head. And like I mentioned, Craig's father was very abusive, like literally chasing this man around with a golf club, kicking him in the ribs, and he's just super psychotic. Okay, so Emma and Craig have that tiny storyline together, but ultimately Emma has history with Sean from the first season, so Emma's crush kind of fades and she's just like, Manny, you know, you can have Craig. And Manny does have Craig. In fact, she has him while he's dating someone else. And this person that he's dating is Ashley Kerwin. Okay, so remember when I said that Craig's unstable family history was gonna come back and manifest into some toxic behaviors for him? Yeah, now is time. Also, remember when I said that Manny didn't want to be seen as sweet and adorable anymore? She wanted to be sexy. Now is the time for that too. Okay, and during this time, Manny is popping out fits after fits after fits. And she had all the girls gagged and jealous. Okay, one of her like lines that she says the most on this show is, "You're just jealous."
You're just jealous. Because it sounds more like you're jealous.
And during this time, Emma is not happy about Manny's change in wardrobe. And actually, when it's for Emma's benefit, she uses Manny. Like, there is some type of protest or petition or something that she's trying to get people to sign. And she makes Manny come out to attract more guys so that they can sign her petition. But, oh, when it's not for Emma's benefit, she's calling Manny a slut. And she calls Manny the school slut. Okay, so at this point, Emma and Manny, they're beefing. They're not on good terms. Now that Manny has rebranded herself, this is her time to double down on her crush on Craig and lure Craig in, because she peeps Craig and Ashley having some issues. So what's happening here is Craig and Ashley are dating. Ashley wants something a little bit more deep. Okay, she wants to hear Craig say those 3 little words, "I love you." Okay, but Craig, he's really not feeling it. I mean, he's feeling it, and he tells her that, like, yeah, Ashley, I feel this way, but it's hard for me to say it. His dad was abusive, and so, like I said, Craig had to move out and stay with Joey. And a little bit after Craig is living with Joey, Craig's dad comes back into the picture, tries to get Craig to move back in with him. They go out to eat. Craig's dad tries to, manipulate him back in. They get into an argument. Craig's father hits him one last time, gets into the car, and gets into an accident and dies. Okay, so this kid has gone through a lot. And so, people who have gone through trauma like that, abusive relationships with their parents, and then, abandonment, like his dad dying, his mom dying, it has to be very hard for him to express affections and deep feelings with people that he's in relationships with. And even though he pretty much very well loves Ashley, it's hard for him to express that. So Ashley is upset about this. Craig apologizes with a cute little song. Ashley's liking it. She's feeling it. But you know who else is feeling it? In the background, lurking, plotting on her next move? Manny Santos. After the apology song, Ashley has forgiven Craig. Later on, everybody is at a party, and apparently Craig is telling his friends like Spinner and Jimmy, he's telling them like, oh, me and Ashley, we're good to go. We're gonna have sex now. She forgave me. Ashley finds out about this, and she gets mad at him again because she feels like he's just going around bragging about a sex life that they don't even have, and she never guaranteed to him, right? So she's upset. She storms out of the party, and right then and there, like a gazelle, Manny pounces. Okay, right after the fight, she walks up to Craig. She's like, I heard your song. I would die if that song was about me, if you were singing that to me. So that does it for him. He's lured in. They go off and they hook up. Fun. Ashley comes back and she forgives Craig. So now Craig is like, dang. What now? Fast forward, Christmas season comes around. Ashley and Craig are still together, but Manny still cannot get Craig off of her mind. She's calling Craig's house while Ashley is there. And so all of a sudden, Craig now feels that Manny is the one for him. He visits Manny at the ice rink, makes a grand gesture, tells her that she's the one, not Ashley. Okay, but Ashley still very much in love with Craig. So you know what she does? She gives Craig a Christmas present, and that present is her grandfather's guitar. First off, why would you do that? Never give a man something that valuable. And so this is what makes Craig finally tell Ashley that he loves her, because now he just feels super guilty. Everything is just super messy, and to make matters worse, Joey, Craig's stepfather, is also cheating on his girl. So both men in the house are cheating. And mind you, again, it's Christmas. This is supposed to be the season of giving, the season of love, and y'all are out here cheating on your girlfriends. This is not okay. Okay, so eventually the Christmas performance at school comes around, and during this time, Ashley finds out about Craig and Manny's relationship. She puts the pieces together. She slaps Craig on stage in the middle of their performance. as she should. And then Manny also breaks up with Craig as well, just because he's a liar. He doesn't know what he wants. Before we move on to the rest of the men that Manny and Emma have shared, let's quickly go over the rest of some really good Ashley and Craig lore. In the next season, after this mess, they do end up getting back together because Craig truly has put in the work to earn back her forgiveness, and they just can't help their bond. They bond a lot over music. They're going to the music store. Ashley joins Craig's band. They still have feelings for each other, so they get back together. But this time around, Craig gets a little bit too excited and he starts exhibiting some erratic behavior. He's like having outbursts in class, and he's having really big spontaneous ideas, and one of these ideas is he wants to propose to Ashley. So he proposes. Ashley says no because this isn't One Tree Hill, this isn't Nathan and Haley, so Ashley doesn't want to get married right now, and Craig crashes out. Okay, he trashes a hotel room. He has a meltdown in the phone booth when he's trying to call Ashley, and he even beats up Joey. He beats up his stepfather. Okay, so clearly there's something not right. So ultimately Craig is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So throughout the show, Craig deals with this. He goes on and off his meds, suffers a few episodes, but Ashley, she's down for the ride. She loves him no matter what. But oops, the following year, Ashley actually moves to London and dumps Craig for some other guy over email. So everything that they've been through, she throws it all away. Well, moving on, the next guy that Manny and Jay share is Jay Hogarth. So Emma has some relations with Jay at the Ravine, which is kind of like a woodsy area near the school where students usually go to participate in these said relations. That's pretty much as far as Emma and Jay's relationship goes, but Jay and Manny's relationship is definitely a lot deeper because Manny asks Jay to be his like fake boyfriend and fake fiance to piss off her parents, but Jay actually ends up being a pretty good fake partner, so they end up liking each other and they end up together. So Jay and Manny are an in-game couple for the show. Woo! Yay! And I really like them together. The next guy that Emma and Manny share, Peter Stone. Peter comes in season 5 and he is the son of the current principal. Emma has a crush on Peter, and at this point Manny really wants to be an actress, so she goes to an audition, and the lady at the audition just absolutely cooks Manny and criticizes her body type and is so rude to her, and so of course Manny crashes out after this. Peter throws a party where Emma is seen hanging out with this girl who says something very mean to Manny right to her face, and Emma just continues to hang out with her throughout the whole party. So Manny, she's upset about the audition, and she's upset because her best friend just ditched her at this party, and she gets super drunk and she follows Peter up to this room where she flashes Peter while he's filming her. Peter spreads this video to the entire student body of Degrassi. Emma, instead of checking in on her best friend, "Hey Manny, you seemed drunk in that video. Are you okay? I'm so sorry the whole school had to see you naked on camera." But she doesn't say that. She says, "Oh, I know Peter was recording the video. You know I liked him. I hate you." And she walks away and leaves Manny there crying. And then after that, she proceeds to date Peter and keeps it a secret from Manny for a long time. So yeah, that should tell you everything you need to know about this girl. Okay, so next, they do share a guy named Damien, who I didn't even put up here. He gets with Liberty too, and he just runs through the three of them. And he is from a school called Lakehurst, which is going to be very important later on. But the final guy that Emma and Manny have dated together, Spinner Mason. Manny briefly dates Spinner for like 2 episodes in season 4. It's really pointless. At this point, neither him or Manny know who to get with, so they just kind of get with each other. But Emma actually ends up marrying Spinner. Emma does end up with Spinner, and this is one of the biggest controversies within the fandom because a lot of people do not like this. The way that they got together was super random. They really did not talk to each other that much when they went to Degrassi, and at the end end of season 9, they just kind of get into some shenanigans together and end up marrying each other. So yeah, this is really divided. A lot of people wanted Emma to end up with Sean. To be honest, I really do not mind Emma and Spinner. I didn't mind it. I thought it was cute. They were both at the end of their time on the show anyways, like literally when they got married, that was their last appearances on the show. Sean was gone. He had gone off to the military. Spinner's girlfriend had cheated on him, so that's no good. So Emma and Spinner, like, why not? I didn't mind it at all. And so now that we're on the topic of Spinner, let's dive into the Spinner and Jimmy lore. Okay guys, so Spinner in his early days, he's fun, he's funny, but like I said, he is really not a good person. He is a bully. He's homophobic. He writes slurs about Marco on the bathroom walls. He stole Jimmy's iPod and tried to sell it once. He pursues Manny while he's going out with Paige, and it's just like, what is wrong with you? When things start to get really out of hand is in season 4, because he and his friends do not like the fact that Rick Murray has returned to Degrassi after physically abusing Terry McGregor. He would slap her around, pin her against the walls, and at this point, during like the Spinner and Rick conflict, Terry is no longer in the show because, like I said, he abused her, and he abused her to the point where he pushed her head hit a rock and she fell into a coma. So she's not at Degrassi anymore after that. And so for some reason, Rick just thinks it is a great idea to come back to Degrassi. Bad idea, Rick. Everybody at Degrassi bullies him really hard because they all know what he did and they don't want him there. But after a while, the bullying kind of stops. Everybody really has just kind of let it go, except for Spinner and Jay. Spinner because, again, he was a friend of Terry's, and Jay just because that's what he does. He's just there to cause trouble and make everybody's life hell. So Spinner, Jay, and also Alex too, they're bullying Rick pretty hard. At a certain point, Jimmy, he has to join like this quiz team that Rick, Emma, and Toby are all on. He has to join to replace somebody. And so during this time, Jimmy gets to kind of see like a more humanized version of Rick, and he doesn't become friends with him after this or anything, but he does realize that Spinner has kind of taken the bullying too far. And so Jimmy, he's like, Spinner, give it a rest. All the bullying is getting old. It's lame. Stop. Okay. And then after this, Rick, he thinks he's just in with Jimmy now. Okay. He's like, Jimmy's backing me up. We're friends now. And he hits one of these. Like, he hits this pose. And so Spinner, Jay, and Alex, they're like, oh no, we're not letting this slide. Okay, so they come up with an idea to prank Rick. So Jimmy, Emma, Toby, and Rick, they're all on stage at this quiz competition, and Rick wins the whole thing for the Degrassi team. And during this time where he's feeling just on top of the world, he thinks he's friends with Jimmy, he likes Emma, and he thinks Emma likes him back. He's friends with Toby, he just won the competition, so he's like, yes. Oh, but during this time is when a slew of paint and feathers set up by Spinner, Jay, and Alex, it just comes raining down on him, and this is super embarrassing, super humiliating for him, and it is his last straw. Okay, and so even after this, Emma feels a little bad, and she's like, Rick, I'm so sorry, you don't deserve that. Rick tries to kiss Emma, and Emma is like, no, what are you doing? And so this is definitely Rick's final straw. Okay, so he brings a gun to school, is going to shoot Paige. Paige apologizes to Rick, so Rick decides not to. He goes to the bathroom to cool down, puts the gun away. That is until Spinner and Jay go into the bathroom and they see Rick in the bathroom. Since Spinner and Jimmy are beefing, they decide to ultimately set Jimmy up for this prank and make it seem like Jimmy was the one who set up the paint and the feathers. So now Rick thinks that Jimmy has backstabbed him, and so he goes out, he takes his gun back out, and he shoots Jimmy. Craig is distraught. Hazel, who's dating Jimmy at this point, is distraught. Time goes by. Jimmy ends up being paralyzed. Spinner ultimately confesses to Jimmy that he is the reason that he got shot. Okay, so Jimmy then cuts Spinner off. The rest of the season and the entirety of the next season, Jimmy is not freaking with Spinner at all, and neither is the rest of the friend group. Paige, Marco, Craig, they want nothing to do with Spinner. So at this point, Spinner is outcasted, and for the next season after he's expelled, the principal allows him to come back in because he's put in a lot of work to regain the trust of the principal. So he's back at Degrassi, and now his ultimate goal is redemption. He wants redemption redemption. He wants his friends back. And so at this point, he starts dating this new Christian girl, Darcy Edwards. And this relationship was strange, to say the least. Spinner kind of wants to purify himself for her, so he joins this club that she's in called Friendship Club. This kind of already makes his strained relationship with his friends even worse because the leader of this club is really judgmental, and so he doesn't like Spinner's friends or the way they choose to live their lives. Like, he doesn't like the fact that Marco is gay, and so this just causes a lot more tension between Spinner and his former friends. Spinner lies to Darcy and says that he's a virgin, and so there's just a lot of like mess between these two, so they don't last, obviously. But at the end of season 5, Jimmy is just kind of tired of hating Spinner, and they both have to be held back another year. Jimmy because he spent all that time in the hospital getting a bullet removed from his spine, Spinner because he was expelled for so long. Because of that, they basically just have no choice but to be best friends again. So Jimmy forgives Spinner and they're besties again. Okay, so now let's get into some Marco, Paige, and Ellie lore. So as you can see, Marco, Paige, and Ellie kind of have a trio thing going on. They're a really good trio friendship throughout the show. So Marco, like I said, he is gay, and in the earlier seasons, he's closeted, and so he dates Ellie. Ellie finds out that he's gay, but she agrees to be Marco's kind of fake girlfriend until he's ready to come out. But oops, Marco is not ready to come out yet, but Ellie's sick and tired of being his fake girlfriend. So the friend group kind of goes on a little trip one episode. Marco is like acting fake with Ellie, but Ellie is like, no, everybody, we broke up, he's not my boyfriend anymore. So now everybody for some reason all of a sudden ships Marco with Hazel and Marco and Hazel are kind of on a date, but Marco makes up an excuse and says he has to like have dinner with his mom, and his mom is making pasta, and this gives birth to one of the most hilarious scenes in Degrassi history, and that is Marco coming out to Spinner. So like I said, Hazel and Marco are kind of on a date, and Marco makes up that excuse. He walks out. Spinner runs after Marco, and first he calls him a psycho.
What did you understand? What, that you're a psycho?
Which I feel like is just not needed in this situation. The word psycho is so overused in Degrassi. It's so funny. Okay, and then next, Spinner goes like, you just walked out on a date with one of Degrassi's coolest girls for her mom's pasta sauce.
You just walked out on a date with one of Degrassi's coolest girls for your mom's pasta sauce?
And it's like so funny because the Canadian accent is crazy. And then it's just so dramatic. And Marco is like, because Spinner. And Spinner's like, because what? And then Marco's like, because I'm gay. And then Spinner's like, oh my gosh, he's gay. And it's just like, it's not that serious. Everybody just needs to take a breather and calm down. But yeah, like I said, Spinner was a homophobe for a while, but he changes, he grows a lot, and he even helps Marco to get a date with his crush, Dylan Michaelchuk, who, remember, is Paige's brother. Dylan and Marco, they're sweet, they're cute for a while. That is until Dylan goes off to college and starts cheating on Marco. Like, literally, Marco walks into Dylan's dorm room and sees him in bed with another guy. So Marco is confused, and there's one moment where they're all at a party and sweet Craig is talking to Marco about how just amazing he is. He's a great friend. Dylan doesn't deserve you. And Dylan walks in, and Marco, in an attempt to make Dylan jealous, kisses Craig.
So when in doubt, you kiss Craig?
So yeah, Dylan is trash because he refuses to be exclusive with Marco. He wants to see a whole bunch of other people while he's away at college. So Marco says, Dylan, you're done. I'm just gonna keep being besties with your sister Paige, and also Ellie too, because they're locked in, you know, from when they fake dated. Ellie and Paige, they at first don't really like each other because, you know, she's the goth girl and Paige is the stuck-up cheerleader popular girl, and so though those two aesthetics don't match, right? But the two end up growing pretty close together. Paige is one of the first people to really look out for Ellie because she finds out that Ellie is self-harming. Ellie's father is in the military, and once he goes away again, her mom falls into a pretty big depression, and she's drinking a lot, is an alcoholic, and is super neglectful of Ellie. And so while Ellie's dealing with that at home, she's also going through a tough time at school, failing. You know, she's trying to get this new internship, and she just feels like she keeps messing up and embarrassing herself. And so she's going through it, and she just kind of turns to self-harm and starts to cut herself to take control of that pain. One person who who Ellie is able to find solace in during this time is Sean Cameron, because at this point Sean is also an outcast. He has been hanging with, the wrong crew, Jay and Alex. He's been hanging with them, making a lot of bad decisions like stealing, and he's just, off the rails. But Ellie is kind of one of the only people to hear him out and understand him during this time and why he is making the decisions that he is making. And so, they are kind of just like the two misfits, and they start liking each other and they start dating. And this hereby starts the Simma versus Selly war. So Simma is Sean and Emma, and Selly is Sean and Ellie. And me personally, definitely team Selly. Sean and Ellie shipper all the way. They were just super cute. I feel like they got each other in ways that nobody else did. And they had soft spots for each other. They even lived together, which is like super unrealistic for a couple of 15-year-olds. But hey, I was eating that up. I was eating it up. But unfortunately, they did break up because they are dating at the time when the shooting happens. After Rick shoots Jimmy, he is on his way to shoot Emma for rejecting his romantic advances. And so Sean and Toby were also there. So what Sean did was he tried to stop Rick, tried to get him to put the gun down. The gun went off and Rick died. So Sean basically thinks that he unalived Rick, and especially after his violent past. Remember how I said he got into like a fight with a kid and deafened him in one ear? So after this, definitely Sean is traumatized, and he's like, nah, I need to get away. I need some peace. So he does move back with his parents, and so he breaks up with Ellie. And so Ellie, from this point on, her character regresses after Sean has moved away. It's the start of senior year for Ellie and the rest of the class of 2006, and Ellie all of a sudden has a crush on Craig. And I guess it's really not all of a sudden, because Craig and Ellie did have a little storyline and a slight connection over their traumas, like they did therapy together, because Ellie used to cut herself and Craig has bipolar disorder. So at this point, at senior year, like I said, Ashley has moved to London and dumped Craig over email. So yay, they're both single, right? No problems. But no, because remember Manny? Yeah, she's back in the picture. Peter has just spread the nudes of Manny to the whole school, and so Craig is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, what a jerk. Kind of reminds me of how I was such a jerk to you and Ashley that one time. This time it's not going to be like that. I can treat you better than this creepy guy who spreads topless videos of you. And so they get back together, and what's really embarrassing for Ellie is that Craig knows she has a crush on him. Ellie is super mad and jealous of Manny.
Did you just throw a drumstick at my head?
You could feel it through all that hairspray. Amazing.
Ellie basically tells Craig, I like you. But at the end of the episode, Craig still chooses Manny and gets back together with her. So that's super embarrassing. And that's not even the end of it, because she continually embarrasses herself for this man. Because in the next season, Craig comes back to Degrassi because he's actually moved away to pursue his music career. So, all those apology songs to Ashley actually paid off, because he is now making it big as a musician. And so he comes back to Degrassi, and now he is hooked. Ellie finds out about this. Craig lies to Ellie and says that Manny is the one who's doing the drugs. And so Ellie finds out that that's a lie. At one point, Craig is like, Ellie, I love you so much. I want to be with you. But he really just says that to get the drugs from her. And it's so embarrassing. But this is still not the end, because a couple of seasons later, Ellie runs into Craig in LA. This is where he's living now with his new life as a musician and his model girlfriend. Yet Ellie is still crashing out over Craig. And it's girl, stand up. Move on. And finally, for the Marco, Paige, and Ellie lore, let's end off and go more into depth with Paige. So again, Paige starts off as kind of the mean girl, but she has her growth. She has her soft spots for her friends. She dates Spinner for a little bit just because it's convenient. So they eventually break up, and at one point, Paige actually starts to crush on this student teacher named Matt, and Matt likes Paige back. And so obviously this is an issue, because you can't do that. You cannot go around liking and starting relationships with students, even if you are a TA. Let's not date the high schoolers. $100, okay? But you know, he doesn't care. He dates his student, and Manny finds out about this because she walks in on them like kissing or talking intently, and so she finds out that Paige is dating her teacher. And so at this point, Paige already doesn't really like Manny because she feels like she is trying to steal her place on the cheer squad and just her social life in general. So like I mentioned earlier, there was a point where Spinner was pursuing Manny while he was dating Paige, and so Paige is like, she's trying to screw up my social life. The people on the cheer squad seem to like her better than me. My boyfriend likes her better than me. So especially when after Manny finds out about her relationship with Matt, things are not good. So at one point, Paige runs into Manny in the hallway and they start fighting. One thing about Manny is she's gonna throw hands, okay? Don't get on her bad side. And then after the fight, Manny exposes Matt, the teacher, to be a PDF file. So obviously after that, Matt is fired. And so now all Paige has is her crappy job at the movie theater with Alex. At this job, these two get pretty close. Oh my gosh, what an unlikely pair, the bad girl and the stuck-up cheerleader. Alex starts liking Paige pretty hard. They are dancing together at a movie premiere, and then afterwards, Alex invites Paige back to her house where Paige actually sees a little bit of the toxicity within Alex's household and with her mom's drunk deadbeat boyfriend. So at this point, Alex really trusts Paige and likes her a lot, and so they kiss, and Paige is kind of conflicted about her sexuality. Jay is chastising Alex because they used to date, and Jay is like, what could you possibly have in common with a stuck-up cheerleader, da da da. But ultimately, once everybody, you know, figures everything out, Alex and Paige do date, and it's really cute. I love this relationship, and I really think they deserved more. The writers did them so dirty. They don't end up together because they were often on just different wavelengths. Paige was very goal-oriented, and Alex was more of just like a go-with-the-flow type of person, so they argued a lot about that, and that is what ultimately destroyed their relationship in the end. In my opinion, Alex was doing a lot more fighting for the relationship than Paige. I don't think Paige was ever able to really fully come to terms with her sexuality, but yeah, these two just deserved so much better. Okay guys, so we're almost done. To wrap it up, we're gonna go into the final group of characters, and that is going to be JT and Liberty Lure, with a little bit of Toby on the side. In this drama, this tea is hot. You wouldn't expect all this drama from this loser group of three, but they bring the heat in season 5 and 6, okay? Liberty, she starts off having a crush on JT when they're little, and JT literally pretends to be gay so that Liberty can stop crushing on him. Fast forward a couple of seasons later, they work on a play together, and they write a song that is very offensive to the principal, so they get detention together, and in detention they kiss and finally start dating after years of Liberty crushing on him. So JT and Liberty are happy for maybe like half a season before everything starts crashing down. In the next season, Liberty seems rather irritable a lot, super rude, super mean, cooking JT all the time, calling him childish, pouring drinks down his pants, and it's like, whoa, what is going on with her? Turns out she's pregnant, and then JT crashes out. Like, he literally crashes out. He crashes his car in front of the school, and then JT just breaks up with Liberty. He's like, oh, you're pregnant? Too bad. I'm breaking up with you because you don't respect me, and I'm sick of it. So he walks out, and Liberty is just left there distraught. But ultimately, JT does soon come around and, you know, starts to take up some responsibility, goes to doctor's appointments with her, and so they do end up getting back together, and they attempt to tell their parents about the pregnancy, and this does not go well at all. Liberty's parents are not happy about it. They do not support it, and then they tell JT's grandmother, and she definitely is not rocking with it. She's like, what? I already spent my years raising you because your parents couldn't do it. I'm not raising another kid. I'm like 80 years old. So JT and Liberty have zero support. So at this point, they're like looking for an apartment, which they do find one, but JT doesn't quite make enough money at his pharmacy for them to really afford it. So someone comes up with a way for JT to make quick money. Can you take a guess who it is? Jay Hogarth. Like I said, anytime any character is in a lot of trouble like that, it's usually Jay's fault. So Jay gives JT the idea to steal drugs from his pharmacy to sell to customers that Jay will provide for him. So JT starts doing this. He does a couple of deals, but obviously look at him. He is not cut out for this life. So he gets nervous and he misses a deadline on a drug deal, and the customer gets super mad. He chokes him out. Liberty finds out about the drug dealings. JT's JT's boss at the pharmacy finds out, so he gets fired, and JT at this point, he is at rock bottom. Like, he has no girl, no job, no family support, the girlfriend's pregnant, he's broke, and like, he just has nothing at this point. So he takes the drugs that he stole from the pharmacy and overdoses on them. So after this, Liberty concludes that it is not smart for them to keep this baby. They are not ready, so she decides that when they have this baby, they're giving it up for adoption. So obviously, you know, things are super sad and tense between the two after this, so they kind of just keep their distance from each other for the rest of the pregnancy. But Toby is still there. He's friends with Liberty and he's friends with JT, so he kind of reports to JT that everything is okay with Liberty. Liberty does end up having the baby and giving it up for adoption. And in the next season, it all comes to just a terrible end. So the next season rolls around. JT and Liberty, they're friends, but they're just kind of keeping things light after all the baby drama. But now there is a new student at Degrassi named Mia Jones, and she's coming to Degrassi from Lakehurst. So if you remember, I mentioned a student who Manny and Emma both dated who was from Lakehurst, and I mentioned that this is going to be important. So yeah, now is the time. So Mia, she comes in and we see her for the first time at cheer auditions. She is like the only good audition. So Darcy and Manny, who are both cheerleaders and holding the auditions, they both love her and want her on the team. I was a cheerleader my whole entire life, so just some quick 2 cents on Mia's audition. It was pretty good for school cheer. If I were a judge, I would let her on the team, but she would be in the back of the routines, that's for sure. So like I said, Darcy and Manny both love Mia and want her on the team. But it turns out that Mia actually has a kid. Like, she legit has a 3-year-old kid who she had when she was like 13 or something. So Darcy, if you remember, she was like a Christian, so she feels some type of way that Mia has a kid, and she no longer wants Mia on the team because of this. But on the other hand, JT is actually drawn to Mia because he kind of gets to feel these things for Mia's kid that he missed out on and lost when him and Liberty gave up their baby. So yeah, JT and Mia start dating, and Liberty is not happy about this at all. She still kind of has feelings for JT, and at one point, JT and Mia bring up an idea of doing a Degrassi daycare, and Liberty is the school council president, so at the meeting, JT and Mia bring up the daycare, and Liberty is like, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Get this out of my face. We're not doing this. And this sets JT off. So JT confronts Liberty and is like, you're just mad that I'm happy. You seeing me happy makes you burn. Stop trying to make me as miserable as you. And so now they are not on good terms. So now switching back to the cheerleader lore, remember how I said Darcy no longer wanted Mia on the team because she had a kid? Well, Manny, she doesn't like that. She likes Mia and wants her on the team. So Manny shows up to the first game with Mia, and Darcy is like, what is she doing here? I said I didn't want her on the team. And so there's that conflict going on. But Mia also has a little bit of her own conflict because this game that they're at is a Degrassi versus Lakehurst game. So a particular ex of Mia's walks up. He comes up and he's like, oh, Mia, did you ever figure out who the father of your baby is? So she slaps him, and then someone else from Lakehurst pulls her hair, and then Manny pounces on the girl, and it's just a Degrassi versus Lakehurst brawl. Okay, and then JT gets into it with somebody. He takes off the mascot head, and this is the beginning of the Degrassi versus Lakehurst war. JT is kind of at the forefront of this war because he's dating Mia, who is an ex-Lakehurst student. So JT, he's not safe. He is not safe in this war. So fast forward, Mia is still dating JT, and you know, they're dealing with the Lakehurst conflict. Even though JT is not really on good terms with Liberty, it is Liberty's birthday, and he can tell that Liberty has been a little down lately, so he's very sweet, and he gives Emma and Manny the idea to throw Liberty a birthday party. This birthday party is messy, and it does not end well. So at the party, some intruders from Lakehurst are there, just causing trouble and havoc. Spinner and Jay kick these two guys out of the party, and also Ellie and Manny connect at this party because at this point they're both over Craig. Manny's over Craig, but Ellie she's never over Craig. So they're just kind of chatting about how Craig screwed them both over. And then JT and Liberty are at the party talking. You know, they're kind of back on good terms now. And Liberty, she actually confesses to JT that she is still in love with him. And so JT is like, what? No, I'm dating Mia. And Liberty is like, look at me in my eyes and tell me that you're not still in love with me. And JT, he kind of hesitates and he's like, no, I don't love you. So Liberty storms out. JT is now feeling super conflicted, so he talks to his best friend Toby. JT is talking to Toby and he's like, I have this perfect girl, she's like a meatball sub. And earlier he compares Liberty to like oatmeal and Mia to a meatball sub. So he's like, I have this meatball sub, you know, everything should be good. But Toby is like, meatball subs, they're good, but you get tired of them after a while. Oatmeal though, it's always there for you. And so basically JT figures out that he's still in love with Liberty. He goes outside to try and find Liberty and confess his love. But remember the two jerks from Lakehurst who Spinner and Jay kicked out earlier? Yeah, they're still there. They're outside defiling JT's car. So JT finds them and he says something smart, and one of the Lakehurst guys pulls out a knife and unalives JT. So yeah, that's the end. Pretty depressing way to end off this video and this generation of characters. There is another season after this, but it doesn't really focus like too much on the main characters, more so like the characters that came in later, like Darcy, Mia, the Lakehurst characters that come in. Yes, you heard correctly. Lakehurst, their school burns down, and even after one of their students unalived JT, they're just allowed into Degrassi. So some Lakehurst characters come in, but it's not all bad because some of these characters do end up being really great characters at Degrassi. We're gonna learn about them a little bit in the next video when I do my season 10 to 14 deep dive. Yeah, that's gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into the lore of Degrassi. Like I said, I do want to do some other shows as well, so if you are a teen drama lover like me, then stay tuned. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.